And so my goal is to get my clients' product, services, vision, their altruism, their mission, their ministry out in front of those people who each have 1,000, an influence of 1,000, and try to get them psyched about what my client is promoting in such a way that they feel the synergy is so strong that they don't need it to become an advertising relationship.
Welcome to the Magnificent Marketing Podcast, where we interview the top marketing experts in the world and keep you up to date on all the changes and best practices to help you grow your business and stay on the cutting edge. Welcome to the show. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Chris Abraham, and Chris is a digital strategist and technologist and is a leading expert in digital earned media micro-influencer marketing, search engine optimization, online relationship management, internet privacy, Wikipedia curation, social media strategy, and online public relations with a focus on blogger outreach, influencer engagement, and internet crisis response with his digital PR and social media marketing agency, Jairus Digital. I pioneer in online social networks and publishing with a natural facility for anticipating the next big thing. Chris is an internet analyst, web strategy consultant, and advisor to the industry's leading firms. Chris specializes in web technologies, including content marketing, online collaboration, blogging, and consumer-generated media. Chris was named a top 50 social media power influencer by Forbes, #1 PR 2.0 influencer by Tracker, a top 10 social media influencer by MarketWire, and for what it's worth, Chris has a cloud of 69 the last time he looked. And today, we are going to talk about do-it-yourself earned media. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm really great. I'm blushing.
And I'm out of breath. Yeah, hey, it all needed to be said. We always want to let people know who they're going to be hearing advice from is worthy of hearing advice from. So I'm glad we were able to read those, and congratulations on all the accolades you've earned over the years. I know it probably didn't start from day one, so congratulations on all those awesome notations there. So, but before we get going here, talk just real quick what earned media is.
Well, earned media is value-added or value-based media where, it's traditional public relations where you pitch a story. You pitch a story and either it gets picked up or not by an editorial team that's willing to go ahead and write about it, review it, share it, or experience it themselves without there being a pay-per-play. It's not pay-per-post kind of model. It's more of a traditional public relations model that allows the influencer to remain editorially neutral, as opposed to the perception of having their influence bought.
Gotcha. What might be some offline examples versus online examples of earned media?
I would say offline examples every day. I mean, there's always been the cool chasers, the people who are always trying to look around and figure out, what the cool pair of shoes are and what the cool the next line and and shoulder bags are and all these other kinds of things. Those were the offline influencers. Those are the people that about 20 years ago people started identifying in a real world kind of place and bringing them on board to be the tastemakers for tomorrow. And in many cases, that would be more of a publicity, not a true PR model, but the influencers have always been there. Most of the time, and it's becoming that way now, the influencers are the most obvious people, the people who already have what is the term, Q factor, a high Q factor, a high recognition index when it comes to, generalists in the world. But, back in the day when people were looking for style influencers to try to help them figure out where the market was going. They weren't looking for the most influential people or the most obviously influential people. They were looking for the people who were in the know. And I believe that, earned media influencer marketing, or in my case, earned media and micro-influencer marketing, believes that the real future influencers, the people who know what is happening down the road and aren't just being quaffed and consulted by stylists who are, trying to define fashion or trends in the future, but the people who are actually bubbling up emergently, is that a word? Through the emergent nature of what's cool. And my goal is to discover those people, no matter how opaque or no matter how unappreciated or no matter how long, far, deep down the tail they are, and try to see if we can influence them, and by, as a direct result, have that influence bubble up. Ultimately, hopefully, into whatever, the house of Gucci. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but influence tends to bubble up, or trends tend to bubble up, and influence tries to be top down. And I've always been trying for the last 10 years to harness the long tail.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think what I'm hearing, and I've seen you speak about this a bit, is it sounds like what you're describing is starting with what most of us can get to is like the micro-influencer and micro-influencer marketing. So I'd like to dig into that with you a little bit because it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity there. But real quick, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but first define, micro-influencer versus influencer marketing, and when people hear influencer marketing, they're normally thinking about LeBron James and some of these big names and all of that. But it sounds like, and again, I've heard you talk about the micro-influencer. So describe the difference real quick. I mean, it might be somewhat logical, but it could be a new term to some. But just define that real quick, and then we'll dig into how we can actionably use them to our advantage.
I apologize if there's a helicopter in the background. I'm only aware of how noisy my neighborhood is when I'm actually needing to keep things quiet.
No, I don't hear anything.
I used to call it 10 years ago when I innovated this. I used to call it long tail blogger outreach. This whole concept of trying to find, as you see in Amazon and so forth, the attempt at finding very niche verticals that you can actually make your fortune on. I like to jokingly say that in order to become a rich man, at least in my neighborhood as a kid, one's dad only really needed to own one used car dealership. Our concept of, what success is doesn't have to be taking the world by storm a la Instapot. It can be dominating, being the best hydration vests according to all ultra runners, near, in Moab. It depends on where your focus is, and it's not always easy to find those people. Micro-influencers is a term Micro-influencer marketing is a term that I adopted because nobody was picking up my long-tail blogger outreach, and Richard Larimer was always telling me that that's not a pithy thing to say. So I embraced what it was being called by the marketplace. But what it is trying to, I see this all the time on YouTube channels. I see people who are celebrating their first 1,000 subscriber who, for whatever reason, I've subscribed to. And whenever they come out with a new video, I really relate to the review of, running shoe or a running vest or whatever. And they have strange influence on me from their little, I'll just be jokey and say from their mom's basement, but and they really drive my purchases, and so my goal is to get my clients' product, services, vision, their altruism, their mission, their ministry out in front of those people who each have 1,000, an influence of 1,000. and try to get them psyched about what my client is promoting in such a way that they feel the synergy is so strong that they don't need it to become an advertising relationship.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, and I think it not only logically makes sense, I think it's something that we all can relate to that's not sitting, on top of a, 1,000 plus employee type of company, like a bigger company. It's the fact that, hey, start somewhere where you can dominate, and start small, have a big piece of something small as far as big influence over like a smaller market. And then from there, you scale up and then you bubble up. You mentioned that earlier. There's, you bubbling up, and it just makes so much sense. And not only does it make sense, it feels attainable. Now we get down to, okay, how do we do this? Where do I start? Let me think through. Yeah, someone might be hearing this and saying, yes, I get it. I want to do that. I want to start getting influence in my local market, my local industry, my niche industry. Okay, I need to start somewhere. I'm ready to go. Chris, teach me. So let's just start at the top, and then we'll work our way down. First thing would be planning out, your campaign or your strategy here. So what do you think the questions are that you need to get answered before you do your first outreach to anybody?
My first question is what's your point of pain, client? I mean, are you willing to give till it hurts? Because if I don't have a really good, I think generally if a blogger doesn't believe they're getting about 200, I'm just arbitrarily, if they don't feel like they're getting $250 worth of value from the experience, like whether it's attention or access or literally, if my client is offering a product that's like the kind of thing that you get at CVS and the travel bins, then they're not going to feel respected. They're going to feel like they're being treated poorly. Who's the publisher behind Harry Potter? Whoever they were, anecdotally, I heard a story about how they were doing a really good influencer marketing campaign in the early days of Harry Potter. I mean, really good, except some people received hardcover collectible books, and other people received paperbacks, and then other people received beautiful book sets, and other people received slapped together cardboard book sets. And it really got to the point where the influencers, even though it was still the same Harry Potter quality, value, attention from the publisher and everything, there was a perception that they were being, ghettoized, if you will. I don't mean to use that word lightly, but they were being put in a place where, some people are more equal than others. And what we always want our client to say is, the only way this is going to work without you writing checks is by you giving till it hurts, to the point where they feel spoiled in a way. Many of these long-tail influencers have never been kissed. They've never seen a burning bush. They don't know what it's like for a brand to come down on high and speak to them directly. And you really need to give them an amazing experience. They need to feel like, and so if the client isn't willing to do that, then we might go ahead and abort the mission entirely and not go forward and try to pitch them on pay per post. Because if it's, I've learned over 10 years when to cut and know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Because if you just go ahead and bill and say, well, I'll do my best, and you know in your heart that it's going to be an unsuccessful campaign, then it's not even worthwhile starting, and you're going to just find everybody's going to want their handout. Because, in my opinion, please pay me generally means, more often than not, I don't feel like you've honored me with your initial pitch, but money will make up for that.
Gotcha. So one of the first things is, before you even go down the influencer route, micro-influencer route, or even influencer, whatever, we're talking about smaller budgets, but it all applies. It's all relative. Make sure you're ready to give and budget that, like actually budget that as something, and be it product, be it services, be it what you have clout on your end. Like I'm assuming if you reached out to an influencer that you were way bigger than, and you offered to, share them on your stuff with your clout and all your stuff, that alone would be a value, right? So think about it that way. When we're talking about giving, we're talking about not just dollars and maybe not even dollars, could be dollars, could be reciprocation based on sharing their stuff. It could be product.
It could even be presentation. Like if one of my clients, skinny coconut oil, I mean, they put together a beautiful gift basket, with an assortment of all of their different products, and it was not just, hey Martha, let's drop ship some crap to the frickin' guys. It was, they put some time and energy into a thoughtful gift.
Mm-hmm.
They would, if I marked something as, it being a whale, like for example, Chris Brogan is all of our friends. I mean, he wanted to try some Mizuno shoes, for example, or some skinny coconut. I'm going to tell them that, if he's going to be so kind as to take his time, he's not a micro-influencer, at least in our vertical. And so I would make sure he had a nicer set of Harry Potter books, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I made sure that the very minimum was not, little testers that you get, when you go to the Keel store, little squeeze packets, which would be highly insulting. I don't know if you've ever subscribed to a gift box. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The only reason a gift box is valuable is because you get a lot of little different knickknacks. Like if you just got a couple, what are they called, gels, or whatever the little training gels, or if you feel like all you got is like crappy testers and not a really cool pair of socks from blah blah, then you wouldn't subscribe anymore. And I think it has a lot to do with the same thing. I feel like there is a perception, which I find true. I came from a tech background. I was I've been blogging since '99, so I get how disenfranchised online content creators can feel when they get, when someone new at, I don't know, Ogilvy or whatever, needs to do the influencer marketing campaign, and they're like, damn, I wanted to pitch the New York Times. And so, it's the black sheep, redheaded stepchild of the campaign. And these influencers feel that way. And now that they can command money, they're really digging on that. And just to proactively, I'm sorry to bogart this.
No, you know what? No, but from what you said, you made a great point. And it's something that definitely would get lost on somebody. If somebody's looking to do this with themselves and they don't have the guidance and they just took it and took the idea, oh, we can send product and okay, that'll work and we have a great product, and they might very well have a great product. But the presentation, I mean, I've always said, and I'm a big believer in incorporating like promo mail with like B2B marketing once the timing is right.
Yeah.
And the presentation is way bigger than just for like promo mailing, like little gifts here and there. It's bigger than the actual product, because the product could be a pack of Big League Chew that you says, hey, you're chewing on the idea of teaming up with us, right? And of course you scale up as the stakes get bigger and you can do bigger stuff. But if you're looking to do, but then you send it in a cool looking tube, or a box that people open up. When people get their Birch box, they get it, and it's such a nice presentation that is half the deal. People love getting presents. They love opening stuff, right? And they don't just want to get something in a UPS thing where they, and it doesn't feel like a gift, And so you want to make it feel that way. So if you are looking to do this on your own and try it out, and you have some contacts and you're going to be sending your beard oil or whatever it is, don't just put it in a manila envelope and mail it, because that's going to kill, people judge a book by its cover. And you are making a great point on that. And it's very important to, hey, stop, put some thought into this. When people receive it, are they going to get a fuzzy, warm, awesome feeling? And then that's going to help. I know I've seen influencer campaigns where people film themselves opening up the entire presentation, because the entire experience is part of the product. So you're making a really, really good point, and I appreciate you bringing it up. What are, just for the sake of getting through more here, what are some other things that people need to think through at the beginning? You talked about making sure you're willing to give till it hurts, so setting your budget, be it bandwidth, gifts, money, whatever it is. Well, what are some of the things you need to think through on the outset as you're, getting going with like an influencer outreach?
You don't have to take no for an answer. I mean, don't be rude, but, I like to think of Judaism about, knocking on the door 3 times. Honestly, people don't, just as an aside, like, in Judaism, it's not a religion that tries to evangelize new members. And so supposedly, and I'm not, even though my last name's Abraham, I'm not Jewish, but supposedly you knock on the rabbi's door and he'll be like, why do you want to become Jewish? And second time, are you really sure this is a big commitment? And on the third time, just to show commitment, and to, when you get a request a lot, when there's so much email and spam and stuff from Nigeria and so forth, it's not that the initial negative response has anything to do with you. It has to do with you've only knocked for the first time and I don't know you. Mm-hmm. And so I think persistence is important. We find that when we reach out, I mean, we do big D-Day attacks. We will reach out to 6,000, my analogies, I apologize, but we do big beach attacks, and so we'll reach out to 6,000 to 8,000 influencers, and then have to get Skinny Coconut Oil to drop ship 400 beautifully produced packages to influencers for that big push. But if you are promoting your own business for the rest of your life, you can take it slow and do it by hand and do the kind of follow-up. I mean, and not only that, but if you're not just me, I'm just like the Marines going in there. You can actually develop, I mean, getting them to review you is only half the opportunity. It's just like, if you've ever watched 6 Degrees of Separation, there's this Will Smith, as the actor in the movie, says the rich are funny. The only gift you have to bring them when you meet them is a lovely pot of jam. And the pot of jam, the beautiful pot of jam, a French confection with a beautiful wrapping and in a lovely cloth binding and so forth, is just a manifestation of respect, like bringing wine or flowers to an introduction. Once you have them, you could marry them. I mean, kind of in a Mormon marriage, like you want a lot of influencers to be on your team, but you can definitely start an ambassadorship program. So don't fire and forget these relationships. Once you've developed them by reaching out again, being patient, being persistent, being gentle and friendly. I always say, when you get negative responses back, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. I mean, that's attributed to Plato, but I know it's not him. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of people who do this kind of marketing forget the human part. It all comes down to numbers. And all that is reflected when they do an unboxing video. Like if you phone it in, they'll snarkily dress you down while they're showing how little effort you put into this campaign. And they, and at the end of the day, even after you stop dating someone, they can go ahead and they have stories about you for the rest of your life. Oh, Chris, he was gentle, generous, and loving. Or, oh, Chris, what a bastard. I can't even believe I went out with him. He has a gentle facade, but afterwards he's a rage boy. So you actually are accountable for this in the long run. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
No. You're giving some great pointers. I mean, you mentioned initial outreach, upfront planning. We need to make sure we think about the presentation. You need to think through what you're willing to give. Now you're talking about, as you're getting going, hey, understand, you're just giving a good business tip. good sales tip, which is all part of this. So, what you're mentioning is very applicable. Now, let's talk about finding these people. You mentioned you sent it out to 4,000 people, and I would be pretty much 100% sure these weren't randomly selected. You found the right people that fit with the people who would be coconut oil influencers. How did you go about that? How do you find the right people for your niche? And especially, we'll also touch on the more difficult verticals and niches, like when you do try to get, in a city, or an area. I don't even know if you can go as low as a city or as small as a city. I don't know. So talk to us about finding the right people, but also do touch on the more difficult, niches and verticals.
I hate to be hackneyed, but you need to really research outside the box. You need to spread a wide net. For example, for Mizuno shoes, we did a campaign for them, and in order to reach 1,000 influencers with regards to that vertical, we expanded running. It's called the Mezamashi Project or something to that effect. The joy of running using Mizuno shoes, and Mizuno is a very popular brand in Japan and to a few running purists. Very, very different vertical than Nike, or I can't believe they say this in England, Nike, and Adidas, or as they say it here, Adidas. But like Mizuno was willing to drop ship, for high influencers, 10 pairs of shoes so that the influencer could take a pair or two and then give away the others to friends, and then all the way down to a couple pair for my long tail. What I did is I'm a fat runner. Let me admit it, fat runner, and I subscribe to Runner's World aspirationally with the extension with the underline on the ASS.
Hey, it's all good.
And and Runner's World always says you're a runner if you run. Like, do not think that you have to go ahead and be really good at wind sprints and 5Ks and rock, personal bests. If you throw on a pair of shoes and go outside or on the treadmill and you huff and puff and blow the house down, then you're a runner. And so I took that and I said, okay, if that's true, that includes fat runners. That includes people who are trying to get back in shape. That includes people who are even doing CrossFit type of things or obstacle courses or whatever. So I've really softened it to include anybody who's trying to pursue sport and health, fitness. And so with that, it included some moms and dads and parents and people who felt like they lost their way. And the same thing with I'm going to be a little blue, but I'm nothing you won't have to censor. Same way with skinny coconut oil. We thought of everything except the coconut oil as part of an intimate life.
Gotcha.
But like my partner Dan Kruger and I never even thought about the lustiness of coconut oil, but we thought of everything else. We had to brainstorm on it being for cooking, for keto and other types of high fat diets like paleo and so forth. We offered it to people who were in the beauty and health world. And even off-label. I mean, the client didn't know anything about this because we like to protect our clients from, like, the FDA. But, like, we even heard that there was, concepts that high alkaline, low acidic things like the cold-pressed coconut oil that Skinny offers could help with your, help fight cancer and other types of things like that. So, I mean, there were huge, as long as you don't get stuck in letting the client define to you who your target market is and you kind of indulge them with the people they're looking for because, CMOs, they're very you got to give them what they want, but you also have to spread out a little bit, because some of the most beautiful responses we got were from people who were not exactly in the middle of the target market, but were part of people's lives. I mean, African American community loves coconut oil, and I don't think I knew that until I started doing the research and finding that cocoa butter and and coconut oil were big skin relievers for that community, especially during the winter. So.
Well, what did you do? Like, you identified and you did your research, but you mentioned 4,000 people that you reached out to.
Sure.
How did you find? Did you have tools that you used? Did you task people to do this? How did you go about it? And if you did task people to do it, where did you tell them to look? How did they build the list? Like, how do you find these people?
I have a team in India, and they are awesome, but they're very literal. Like, they won't do.
Mm-hmm.
So what I need to do is Dan and I need to get together and brainstorm. What I do is, of course, I Google, but I also go down the rabbit hole at Wikipedia, right? Because Wikipedia is all about everything. Everybody's, minorities and women are underrepresented, true, but like at least you can start hyperlinking through Wikipedia and going down to the categories at the bottom and looking for other. See, what's really important for me to do is find ways of describing this that aren't already in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can get outside my head, like when I think of coconut oil, I think of slippery, I think of tropical smell, I think of cooking oil, I think of body lotion, I think of hair, I didn't even know that you can clean your teeth with coconut oil. And it wasn't until I put myself into Wikipedia about coconut oil and so forth, and then started going down the rabbit holes. But Google's my friend too, because obviously people are talking about it. People are very strong, have strong opinions about it,
So let me see if I'm hearing you right on that.
So what I do, let me just tell you, what I do is come out with a bunch of keyword terms and then feed that to the Indians. While I'm doing that, I search so it's about 30, 30, 30, 33, 30, 33, infinitely repeating 33. To be a nerd. But like 33 is my Indian team. I give them a bunch of keywords. They do as best they can. 33 is my literally going into Google and like knocking off tabs and saying things like top coconut oil blog, top coconut oil. Like, you just ask Google what you want, and I run tabs off there, and I copy and paste the URLs and give it to the team so that they can feel not only do they have a source of keywords, but they also have a catalyst of similar sites that I'm interested in. So we do a lot of front-end work before we give to them, because it's like writing a program. Like their runtime, they're the people that they do the work, but if you program it incorrectly, the program will hit a hard stop and just break, and then you have to be like, hey guys, what's going on? And they're like, we ran out of stuff. Okay, let me feed you some more. I obviously didn't program you right the first time.
Yeah.
And it sounds so terrible, but I think it's a safety measure, because if they go completely down the wrong road, I won't be happy either, right?
No, I've experienced the same thing, but you're talking about, that is our experience, with working overseas is you got to give them very strict instructions, but they're amazing tactical execution, but you got to set them up. But the same would go for if you just hired an intern and you needed to give them specific instructions, because they're scared to go off and start doing things randomly. And
that's exactly.
So it's the same thing. So be it overseas or your daughter or your son or an intern. Again, I'm talking to the small business person. Obviously bigger teams have other resources. That's why I try to break this down for other people who don't have the big resources, because the people who do have all kinds of ways to get this stuff done. So, but you're basically, I love your strategy and I get it. No, that's a third of it. Keep going.
If I don't go out myself to go ahead and like, it's like, okay, so I was a rower in college, and I had this coach called Steve Weiss, and he's down at the boathouse now. Like he goes to Potomac Boat Club, and he still coaches. the dude could like row harder, run faster, climb higher, like everything better than us. Like I love leaders like that. So Dan and I really tried to go ahead and do as much of the brain power before we passed it on to research. And then I'm so lucky because the beautiful team at Group High and Tracker also we partner together and I get to use their tools, but I don't want to accentuate that too much because while those tools are amazing and I can find people who are outside of the realm of my searching because they have their own, tags and categories and meta tags and internal definitions that have been probably improved through the wisdom of crowds over time. And I can export those people, 20% of which already have names and email addresses, but like the rest, I can give that list to my Indians and they can see if they can hunt down any contact info for them. But I don't want any of these like expensive resources to come in the way of anybody can do this. This is just hard work and just takes a little bit of like, skin. I mean, if you just sit by yourself, this is how I found 100 of the top influencers for Mizuno. Sally Falco, who I was partnering with, and I just went out onto Google and like searched, top runner bloggers or top running blogs, and we just started to come up with them. We knew that our client would probably already have, we didn't need to reach the influencers who were already sponsored by Saucony, or however you pronounce that. Saucony, Saucony. Do you know how to pronounce it? But
Saucony, right? I don't know. Yeah,
but once you get too high into there, they're like, no, I'm sponsored by Hoka. No, I'm sponsored by Ultra. No, Nike's got me. So going down the tail is actually really awesome. And I don't need the Indians to help me find my first 100. I don't need Group High and Tracker to help me find my first 1,000. My first 1,000 influencers can be found by me in a long weekend where I put my head down and just search for them. And in fact, the first 1,000 or 100 would be even better because every one of those people, if I really search them out myself, I will be able to find that on their contact page, they give me terms of engagement of how they want to be engaged. Or if I can't find their email via my research team, I don't reach out to them. But if I'm doing a really hands-on campaign, I can engage with them via Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus. I can engage with them via YouTube or by their embedded feedback form, their email form, or however. And so what allows I highly think that if you're getting into influencer marketing in general or for your product, you should do it by hand for a little while so you can become a bespoke tailor so that when you make orders to China, you know that when you get back the garments, whether they're good or not. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm really going off the.
No. You're not going off. You just dug deep on the research part, but I think that I mean it's enlightened me, and I've been making some notes for our team because we're going to be doing some outreach for companies in different areas. But if they do have the opportunity on the influencer route, we can kill two birds with one stone here, and you're finding some good ways. So you do the manual research, give it to a team because, lots of people can follow instructions and build out the lists. What are the other ways that you have found people? You've mentioned that you kind of have three parts.
Oh yeah, the final part is that so let me divide it into the first third is the Indians plus me and Dan, right? Mm-hmm. The second part is leveraging tools like and that would the second part be Google or would the second part be leveraging tools including Google? Second part is that, and the third part is sometimes let me. If you know me on Facebook, I bet you think that I'm joking when I say this, but I love the writing of magical realism. Coming from Latin America, like the Mexican and so forth, like water for chocolate, the concept of there being magic in the world, if you will, not, totally, I'm a total, like Oprah, like intention. I believe that.
No, I'm studying, I'm actually studying big on that currently right now. We're actually working with a company that's going to teach our entire company about it. So no, I'm with you.
So I believe that sometimes if you put a little chaos in there and add some people, like we will go back into old lists and we'll try to really look at these lists and we're like, okay, do you think that as a, so we'll sometimes take older lists that we've researched for previous clients, or we'll really try to go off reservation and try to find people who we don't necessarily think will do it, including some A-listers that are way out of our wish list, as well as, people who we reached out to so long ago that there's maybe a possibility that they're not even blogging anymore, but we knew them once, and maybe if we include them this time, they'll remember us and be willing to work on our behalf. So a third is, pre-research for our team. Second is doing it ourselves through tools like Google search, which I swear to God, do not try to trick Google. Just say simple statements like top running blogs, top running bloggers, top 100 blogs, top 10 blogs of your subject. Include those meta things, because you might even have top lists that are on sites that aren't focused on that vertical. So you can even say things like top Army wives blogs. Like there's just, you can't, it's rule 34. What is it? No matter what you can think of, there's porn of it. Like there really is a freaking top 10 list about Allison Bree's feet. I just saw it on a late show the other night, that there's an entire universe of people who are foot fetishists over the actress Allison Brie. So I mean, there's a vertical of everything, and so don't feel stupid trying to search, using dummy language on Google to try to find people who are into that.
Well, you say dummy language, but the way Google, as I think we're both aware, in the last couple of years has gone to like semantic search, user intent search, voice intent search. So Google is actually more and more catering to helping you find stuff on normal language. So yeah, I hear you mentioned tools a couple times.
You don't need to be a Boolean god. You don't need to be a Boolean god.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Now, but any influencer tools that you're keen on to actually find, like these influencer finding tools?
Sure. For a while there, I was really off GroupHigh because they weren't allowing me to import or export stuff. I think maybe I abused it a little bit while I was working with them. But now, for whatever happened, they allow me to export. Pardon me, I apologize. They allow me to export stuff. So I'm getting into them a little bit more. Tracker for me, TRAACKR, is that right? .com is really good for. So GroupHigh and Tracker are made for long-term love. So they're both designed more for, you are an account manager with influencers as your focus, and you want to identify influencers and develop kind of a CRM, a social CRM with them over time. Make sure that you can keep track of contacting them, following up with them. These tools are bespoke made for long-term relationships with people in your space, influencer focused. They can separate people by their platforms, by how they like to be engaged, by their budget, etc. They're highly useful tools for brands. They can be less useful for us because of our, storming the beach way. Like all we care about is like, firing bullets at pillboxes, dropping orders and getting onto the sand as fast as we can. But like if you have more time, those tools allow you to do a real hearts and minds kind of thing, like you move into the Montagnard village and you live with them for a couple years and they get to know you and they get to trust you and you build them into brand ambassadors. And when you leave the hills of Cambodia, you bring them to the U.S. with you. Like there's a real relationship there, to really go analogy world. But for me, when I couldn't export group high stuff, I was scraping. I was literally copying and pasting this stuff to try to be able to use their tools.
Gotcha.
But yeah, those two tools, Tracker and Group High, are the two that people have really allowed me into. I've never really used Little Bird, which I hear has been recently sold. And there's a bunch of others that call themselves social CRMs and so forth. We are pretty much are fire and forget, which is to say that you know, after we liberate a village, gosh, what's wrong with me? And then I'm like, okay, bye. instead of hey, you got to love America now. But those tools will make it a lot easier for you to keep track of who is who, and to have a breadcrumb trail of the people you've reached out to, and give them a continuity of respect that you do by using something like Salesforce. You know, hey, David, so how's your son Joshua? Hey, Steve, how's Michael doing? You know what I mean? Is he doing well with baseball? You know, because you're looking at your notes. I don't know.
Well, now that's after you're talking about cultivating the relationships. I had a question about the initial outreach. You mentioned again 4,000. Some of these are going to be big. Now, you do the initial pitch? You can talk about the follow up. Do you incorporate automation on these until somebody engages, and then you take over the personal conversations?
Oh, we totally should. We totally should. I think we're just too stupid for that. We've been doing this for 10 years.
So you'll send out the 4,000 messages, and then
we'll live in the inbox.
And then you live in the inbox. But what if people don't reply? Do you send out another? You just force another send?
We by hand do Control X on each record of anybody who replies, and put it into a response tab in a Google Docs sheet. Like this is not. I'm not using space. I'm not, even freaking the Space Shuttle Discovery was using, Windows 3.1 or whatever, right? I mean, so yeah, we do that by hand. We even use a simple tool, Get Another Mail Merge, which is a plugin that you can get for $24 a year per each email address on its domain. That's in Google Spreadsheets. It's an add-on. And there are tools that say send an email out to everybody who hasn't replied, but we consider people not replying not as people who literally say, do not contact me, or love you long time, or sure, give me more info, or I'd like to interview your founders or something. So on a Tuesday we'll start. We find Tuesday or Wednesday is a good day. We put together a very short pitch, such as, hi, Joe. Right now we're doing a pitch for a company called Spirus, and they're really awesome because they're willing to drop ship these amazingly secure USB bootable Windows 10 disks, these little USB disks that have so you can just go into your building's business center, throw the USB in there, restart the computer, and be able to work on a secure environment of your own, right? So, and then it goes from there to like Langley quality, like remote control, destroy the thing. And so we're offering this, and it's a highly technical tool. It's really difficult to explain. We do our best in as few sentences as possible. And then we hyperlink to an SM&R. In this case, I think it's Spirus News, SPYRUS News.com, which is a bespoke what we call social media news release, or SMPR, press release, or an SM&R, we call it that. And it gives everything that the influencer might want to steal. But then after we send the pitch, we win or lose people on the reply email. F you is oftentimes a good a response that we can turn into love you. If we show the kind of respect, if we assume, another one of my really cheesy mottos when I had my company before was hugs, not horns. People will come at you with horns, and you got to give them hugs. And And so, yeah, we oftentimes win people in there. We try to explain it. We'll triage it. I'm a pretty technical guy. I spent my first 10 years of my career as an SA, a Linux system administrator, and a technologist before I converted into marketing. So I'm pretty high level on stuff and low level on stuff, but if I hit an uber geek, I know I need to know who I can triage it to at Spirus. And if we have a problem, I want people to be able to address it. If they don't know how to do a boot sequence, if they don't know how to get to hardware BIOS, and we're going to need to help them before anything else happens. So the pitch is simple. It's basically it's kind of a throwaway subject. Let me see.
Yeah, and as you mentioned this, another question I had was about you're about to talk about it, I believe, but if you could incorporate the asks, what do you normally ask for right at the beginning? I mean, is it straight up you have to know, circling back to the beginning of the conversation, what you're willing to give? Do you give various options of teaming up? What do you normally do there?
Sure. Let's see. Come on. For example, what we do, for example, with Spirus, this is a follow-up email, and it generally starts with following up on my last email, but it's kind of parts of that are put in the first one, because it's just, after a week, if we don't hear from someone, we send them a follow-up. And we find people respond much better to the subject line following up on my last email versus, do you want to test a bootable Windows to Go drive from Spirus? That looks like I constantly have to come back to the mantra, do I sound like a freaking used car dealer? Because marketing departments don't even realize how ungodly and awfully markety they sound. And I'm trying to give people a neutral PR pitch, which is supposed to give editorial content to people to be able to share neutrally. But if it's hey, good looking, what you got cooking, then it's not going to fly. People online hate being sold to. They don't mind being pitched to. So this is a.
So are you saying that you mainly just start off with hey, would you like this? But without asking anything up front,
totally,
you know what you're going to ask.
Happy New Year. I know how busy it gets this time of year. I sent you an email just before the holidays and hadn't heard back, so I wanted to try you again. I'd like to offer you a free, secure Windows to Go bootable USB drive created by Spirus to review and share your thoughts with your readers of blog name.
Okay, so you up front, you say what you're giving and what you're looking to get in return.
Yes.
Okay, you're very clear about that.
Then there's this kind of contextual bullshit, with all the data breaches over the past few years, keeping valuable proprietary data secure can no longer be accomplished with just a dream and a prayer. Enter Spirus. And then it says, if you would like us to drop ship a bootable Windows drive to you to try out, I'd be happy to make that happen. I'd also love it if you would post an unboxing video when you get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any questions about Spirus or would like to introduce?
Because you don't want to waste your time on sending all this stuff to people who don't know what you're going to be wanting. So that was what I was wanting to kind of clarify. Now, what about people who don't have products? Do you do this for people who don't have products and mainly they might have really good content to work with? Does it work here too?
Yeah, it does. But. So one of the things by reaching out to so many people, whether they share or post at all, I'm still being able to reach out to 8,000 influencers, right? So that's one of the things that if a client is information only, for example, I just helped Crypterium promote their initial coin ICO, initial coin. What does the O stand for? What does an IPO stand for? Initial coin offering. And at first we promoted the ICO, and we realized very quickly that that's like sounds like we're selling the ICO, and nobody responded well to that. And so I completely changed the pitch so that we were focusing on the technology behind what the ICO is raising money for, which is a platform that allows you to take crypto coin, which is an investment vehicle, and turn it something you could buy a latte with, even in a volatile world, right? We can, like, Cryptarium is going to allow you to go ahead and do banking with the app on your phone in the same way that you buy lattes with the Starbucks app. And that was much more compelling. So with information, it's really important that you get it right and that you're willing to retool your pitch. Because when I was just when I was pitching the ICO, ICO to many people sounds like it's going to be a scam, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. They've seen awful things in the news. But if I'm promoting a way of evolving the technology of cryptocurrency and blockchain and crypto coins into something that can go from an investment vehicle like a bear bond or stocks that uncle gives you at his bar mitzvah, then you can that's newsworthy, and we're getting a lot more pickup on that.
But what do you do? Like, what do you offer? Like, what do you say if it's just content and information? Like, explain to me the offer and the ask.
All right. Dude, you're a really good interviewer. You were worth the wait. I hope I was.
No, this is. I mean, I'm only asking good questions based on what you're giving me to ask. So dude, I'm very curious.
Open kimono on this. You know what I mean? Like, it really is just so hard to do, which is why not a lot of people do it. I mean, let's see, Cryptarium.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to get my brain around, because everything you said, the strategy, a lot of great pointers, everything makes a lot of sense to me if you have something physical to work with. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around the offer and the ask on like content, or somebody's like
bank, and you're creating a currency. Why don't you give me these damn currency tokens?
Right.
And we're always, and then I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's pretty hard to ask for something for free when you're like part of the cryptocurrency buzz, and everybody's like buzz, and there's money out the wazoo, and people are putting down payments on, Maseraris and all that other kind of stuff, Lamboraris. And so like, at first it was like, hi, first name. Until now, Bitcoin has only been accessible to techies and investors. It's tough to buy and sell and almost impossible to spend. Cryptarium solves a problem by allowing any cryptocurrency to be spent as easily as buying a latte with a Starbucks card. I'd love you to share this breakthrough with the readers of Blog Name and your followers. I'd put it all into a convenient news release. And then we're like, if you have questions about Cryptarium or would like to interview the team, I'd be happy to make that happen. So the only thing we really had to give was full access to the team. So if you are a proper podcaster like you are, or if you are part of the cryptocurrency, wunderkind who are starting a blog based on blockchain, we can give you direct access to the team of developers and founders and leaders and so forth. And so that's really all we had to offer. And if they ask for money, we would send them a copy and pasted thing, which is basically Cryptarium spending a buttload of money on advertising. You'll see them everywhere you go. This is not part of the advertising campaign. I'm reaching out to you as a publicist. And what I made my client understand is part of the buzz, whether or not you get earned media mentions or SEO backlinks or whatever, is this rare loophole. And I hate to say it out loud, but like, if you pitch people honestly with a good pitch, you can reach out to people who you couldn't if you were just sending out a promotional email, right? And so hopefully 8,000 to 80,000 people, I don't remember how many people we reached out to. Because this informational campaign, we were a little desperate. So all of those people who responded, whether they asked for money or not, at the end of the day, at least were touched once by the brand.
And on this note, it makes complete sense, and I'd like to kind of just add something for people who feel like they don't have a product and, well, I don't have anything, so I can't do this. But what I think we've learned, well, that too, but what I think we've learned on bloggers, publishers, media outlets, TV stations, radio shows, everybody, all these people, they are looking for content. They are looking for information to share with the audiences because you are actually making their lives easier. And you're basically taking a homework assignment off their plate because now they have that you either have a complete piece of completely aligned and applicable content for their audience, and or you've enhanced one of their blogs that they've already written. Especially if you're like a resource or if you're coming out with something first or something like that, then you're really working with social media gold or currency there, because now it's like if you're the ultimate resource for XYZ or ultimate resource for cryptocurrency, people are looking to find something that will direct to that, right? So I think, well, first of all, do you agree with that statement? And that
I do, and yeah, I mean, nothing's wasted, right? Like, even if you fail, you didn't, right? I mean, you can have that. You can at least you've met for one time, and if you can find a better relationship later, then good on. Did I hear you right? Maybe I missed.
What I was just saying is to give people confidence, to give people confidence that it's okay to reach out with just content and information, is the people that you're reaching out to with your content and information are looking for bigger and better content and information. You know, TV shows, you know, I mean, news stations. I mean, they're looking for a story. Totally. So if you have a great story, you can pitch them. You know, you just need to know how to pitch them, and that's a conversation for another day. But that I'm just saying, like, for bloggers, publishers, you are working with something that they naturally every day are looking for, needing. You just got to have a right pitch. You got to have something compelling. So with that being said, is don't pitch them shit. You know, don't pitch them a bunch of crappy content, because then you've just wasted our. So if you are going to go through the efforts, make sure you're working with something standard. Like for us, you know, we have our ongoing blogs for clients, but then we also look to have a bigger piece once a month, once a quarter, whatever. And then that's the piece that we reach out with. We're not reaching out with our 500-word blog post, 500 to 1,000. We're reaching out with the bigger pieces, because then now you're working with something that is, you know, editorial currency, so to speak. So that's I just wanted to get your take so we could give confidence to the people out there that are only working with information. But if you are killing it and you're giving great, you know, mommy tips or, you know, new mom tips, and you just have your content is just absolutely phenomenal, you can reach out to mommy bloggers, because now they have something to share with their audience, and you just saved them a piece of content to write. So
that kismet happens, but it doesn't happen that often, right? And it doesn't happen. It happens, but you also need to listen to them. You just can't assume that if they're not vibing on it, that it's because they're jerk faces, right? I mean, like with Crypterium, I needed in the middle of the damn campaign. It was a short campaign because they just hit market cap and it's over. Like, this was a sprint, and we needed to adjust messaging right away because we were triple dipple failing, and we really needed to kind of come up. And we were lucky because Richard Lammer of RLM PR in Manhattan, who's a real public relations agency, like, you know, with Manhattan real estate, you know, he was able to help me with it because he was having some great success reaching out to his super duper IRL, you know, influencers, such as people from, you know, Bloomberg, etc. And he said, okay, well, we needed to adjust our message this way. You should adjust your message this way. Here's a post that we had out in this article. Read it. I think you'll understand where we're missing. And I was smart enough to realize that I needed to adapt my message, because if the bloggers are not happy, it's not, you can't blame them for that. Can I address one more thing, though?
Please.
Because I know that whenever I talk about earned media marketing, I get a lot of pushback saying, well, this is now how I put chicken in the pot. Like, you can't not pay me. I need to be paid. And I said, well, I think that gives you editorial corruption. And one guy, I wish I knew his name because now I'm quoting him all the time, he said, the money that you're giving me is to access, is just for access to my time. Like, you are paying me to draw attention from other things and give it to you. Once you have my attention, I am going to seriously and with great respect, look at what you're giving me, experiencing what you give me. The thing that you might get as a result of buying my attention might be, if I think it really sucks, I won't review it at all. But and that could be considered editorial bias. But I see all that. I totally get it. I get the fact that every Tuesday when I write a piece for Biznology for free, because that's part of what I do to put in to show relevance in this moving on without me marketing PR world. That takes me 3 hours. Like, if you do good work, it takes everything takes 3 hours if you do it well. And being able to take that big chunk out of someone's work week who wants to balance that with, buying a cool Instapot and making, chicken legs for their family is laudable, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, then I think if somebody mentions that to you, sometimes you got to make a decision if you do want to pay them too, because it might be worth it.
No, but I get it.
But it might be worth it. I mean, it's just a value prop. So just take that into consideration. Now, we're running a little bit out of time. I just want to touch on one last thing, because I think it's something that a lot of people are familiar with, and I would just like you to provide some guidance. Is I think Facebook groups are a great way to find people who might align with, especially on the content side. This is a great way to, hey, do you want to share our content with your audience? Talk to me about your experiences there, as well as any pointers you have for that initial outreach and, follow through and all that.
I actually have great advice for this. And everybody, I'm going to equate Facebook groups with Yahoo groups, with listservs and mailing lists that are like back and forth, with all these, with message boards and forums.
Okay.
In this time, you always need to find the major domo, the person, the admin, or the
well, if you message them, isn't that directly going to go to the admin? Or no?
It will, but a lot of people feel like they can be the kind of person to drop messaging into someone else's domain, and that is going to get you in a lot of trouble.
No, I don't mean like anything that anybody sees. I mean the private direct messages.
No, but my point is, I thought that, like, my first foray into marketing was at New Media Strategies, and what I did for 3 years was sneak around message boards and forums, dropping personal preferences, both anonymously and as myself, that were being paid for and sponsored by, Buena Vista and shit, like, pardon my French, and stuff like that. So I think that going in and sneaking and not being 100% transparent, just put that out of your head. No matter how big the community, no matter how you think you can get away with it, always reach out to someone who's senior or who's an owner or an admin and ask permission first. And if they introduce your product, service, or something you're pitching through their own voice or through introduction, you're good to go, like you're a made man or woman. So I know that I took you down the wrong road. You weren't asking, but I think that people like to think they can be sneaky.
No.
It doesn't work.
Well, and also, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't suggest automation on this at all. So you're going to be going, but what tips do you have? Like, is it a message like on Facebook group or these other groups? Do you direct message them? Do you go and find the email? Like, and then what do you, is it simply as saying, hey, it looks like we're putting out some great content on XYZ subjects. Is it as simple as this? Hey, we know we're putting out some great info that seems to align with your mission and your causes, or aligns with what you're talking about. Would you be happy for us to send this to you and you share it out if you'd like? Is it something as simple as that?
It's something as simple as that. Just beware that if you do that en masse, which is fancy for saying like really reach out to tons and tons of people over that long weekend. At some point, the Google algorithm perceives you as pestering people and might go ahead and say, you can't message anymore for 24 hours or 72 hours or something like that. Like, at some point, if there's not enough positive response back and forth to the people that you're reaching out to, Facebook will look down its nose at it. So, don't. So it's just like SEO, right? You guys do SEO. Do you guys know SEO and that kind of stuff? Like sometimes if you dump 1 million new pages onto Google over a weekend, Google's suspicious. Like Google looks at things and looks at the way they should organically be. And if you dump a bunch of links and a bunch of pages into Google, they'll sandbox you to try to dig through it and figure out whether it's authentic. So it's always better to take it easy. I know you want to go ahead and do it all in one weekend. You'll just block the weekend and be like, I'm going to do this. But it's much better to kind of take all that stuff you've figured out over the weekend and then put it into an editorial calendar. I'm using editorial calendar in quotes, which is, say, an outreach calendar, to remind you to reach out to these people over time and allow there to be a little bit of back and forth so that you don't go ahead and dump 1 million direct messages in Facebook and then get banned for a while.
Gotcha. But as far as the strategy goes, it feels like this is one of the better ways to go about the content. I mean, you can do the product one as well. Again, that's just so much easier to wrap your brain around. But for the content one, it sounds like this might be one of the better ways to potentially get some reach for people who already have it.
Don't drop your email pitch in there. This is an example of when
you
be like, hey, do you have some time to chat? Like, I'm really interested in getting
love your content. You throw a compliment out. I assume you want to flatter them.
Only if it's authentic. Like,
well, you're only going to reach out to people that make sense, though. Well, you only want to reach out to people that make sense. You don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I love you long time, Chris Abraham, and they've got some sort of tool that's like, I really love your A&D ointment for chafing thighs article. Like,
let's look at some end goals here. I mean, for a smaller, medium-sized company or even a larger company, getting 5 or 10 people who have decent followings is a huge coup. That's a huge coup. And we're not talking about needing success in 20, 50, 100, 1,000 of these. I mean, granted, if you're big, it's all relative. It's all relative. But understand that even if you get 5 people in your wheelhouse, that whenever you have good content, you give it to them and they share with your audience, that social media advertising capital is going to be worth in the thousands of dollars. So you don't need to get tons of responses and relationships to get a massive benefit out of this. Now, it's going to take lots and lots of contacts to get that, but that's your goal, right? I mean, are you with me on that?
Oh, even better. Like if you have a party and you go up to your influencer, you're like, here's a giant cooler full of Coronas. Why don't you take them and give them out to the people in this party? Like if you can empower your influencers to have a modicum of power within the brand building of your company, like if you say, okay, well, here are 10 vouchers for the book or for the boots or for the and you go ahead and let you control that.
And if you had 5 or 10 of those, and if you had 5 or 10 of those, and I just wanted to kind of end on that. Hey,
dude, you hear me? You see me?
Those are the goals here. So don't think that you're looking to sell like you're selling your product. If you can get 5, 10 of these in your wheelhouse, that is going to turn massive. Now, it's going to take a long time to get those 5 or 10. And then, as Chris has really driven home the point, is you need to cultivate these relationships. To quote what Brian Kramer, his H2H marketing, human to human. I think the world a long time ago was all old school, all handshakes, all everything. And then it grew. Then it grew for a period of time where as simply as 5 to 10 years ago, we got into the automation age. And then I think we lost focus. And people who jumped on that right away were successful because they were winning the numbers game, that people who weren't. But then everybody else caught up, and everybody's doing the same thing. So now you're hearing experts like yourself and the Brian Kramers of the world and Jay Bears of the world. Everybody is circling back around to, hey, These are relationships. Cultivate them. So you can use your tools to find massive amounts of people. You can use automation tools to help with follow up on email sequences, if you want to do that. But once these engagements are made, cherish them, work them. Now it becomes down to good old-fashioned relationships, and don't forget that. And I think the world has blended. I mean, our tagline in our company is we blend old school and new school to create the best school of thought. And I think if you combine tools and you combine good old-fashioned salesmanship and relationship building, that's going to end up in your biggest gains overall, and you're going to hit your objectives that way. So once you get these, work them, and then as Chris is saying, always be polite, turn horns to hugs. And I think that as you might feel, since you've lived it, you might think that that's everybody's remembers that, but I don't think they do, and I think they need a reminder. So I appreciate you driving home that point. Chris, this has been a ton of fun, very educational. I'm sure people are going to want to continue to learn from you. Can you let them know how to do so?
Sure. I blog once a week for biznology.com on Tuesday. My own personal website is chrisabraham.com, and my corporate site is gerr.is, which is an obscure Icelandic address, which I did for giggles. You can follow me, Chris Abraham, anywhere on social media. I apologize if I might be a little spammy in those places, because I think over the last 5 years, too many people have access to my account as partners and so forth.
Sure.
And I'm not aloof at all. So if you reach out to me, I will respond. And one of the things that I think that I tried to make clear, and I don't know if I did, is that the initial contact will always be awkward, but you can still get through that and have a successful relationship over time. Making new friends is hard, as they say, right? And as I get older, I'm pushing 50, I'll be 48 in March. And, as you get older, making friends is hard. And so making brand ambassador friendships and this kind of thing is always going to feel forced and awkward at first. But, I mean, our relationship was awkward at first, wasn't it? Your and mine.
I wouldn't say awkward. you wondering why we push the podcast out, but yeah, we used to have to schedule them out. But no, I wouldn't call it too awkward. But it's great now. I hear you. It's better now. It's better now.
Now it's awesome. Now we really had a fun time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I hear you, and that's a great point. That's just a great seasoned business tip. Period.
Yes.
Not a marketing tip. Not any sort of outreach tip even. It's just a good business tip that we all need to remember and not be scared of, because you're right, man. Some of the best relationships I have started off odd, but then the reason for that is because they are getting contacted by those one and done, mass stuff. And then if they see you're not that, guess what? You're different. And all of a sudden they're paying attention. So I hear you completely. Well, Chris, this has been a lot of fun. We'll definitely be talking again, and until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the latest podcast. Feel free to go to magnificent.com/blog to see the show notes for this interview, as well as those from many other of the world's top marketing experts. Have a great day.